Hey, welcome into the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. As always, your host, Mac, and co-host, a.k.a. the star of the show, Lando, is in the building. Lando, what's going on? This is the crazy Week 4, the COVID edition.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. A lot of stuff happening this weekend. Sorry for anyone. We released the podcast, or we recorded the podcast right before the big news happened with Cam Newton and everyone testing, or not Cam, the guys, the New England guys.
No. You're talking Titans, Steelers.
Or sorry, no, it was right before. It was right. No, it was. We recorded right. So Cam Newton, it was Cam Newton testing positive. We finished recording and released right before that was positive. So
right.
We couldn't do anything about that. But either way, we know what's going on. The game is slated for Monday night at 7 p.m. Mackenzie.
Yeah, it's this is crazy. Like, we lost all Titans, all Steelers midweek, and then we heard yesterday Cam Newton and now a couple others have tested positive, and the game, it sounds like the game's going to happen more so than the other game ever had a chance of, because there's less and less cases being developed. I mean, in that Titans organization, they're up to 18 cases now, which is crazy. So that you got to look a week ahead now. That Bills Titans matchup next week is in jeopardy already, because we know there is a 2-week waiting period with quarantine and all those protocols with COVID-19. So, start planning now. If you have Titans and Bills for next week, you might have to get a little bit crafty on the waiver wire. Make some trades with people that don't know about this or thinking down the line. Definitely something worthy of thinking about.
Definitely. Do you have any guys, Mac? I know the week is tough because you might need to start players you did not want to start.
Yeah.
But do you have any guys you're sitting down that you just really don't have a good feeling about? It's a tough matchup, whether it's Washington players versus Baltimore, or are you gonna just kind of fade New England and Kansas City players unless you have to?
Well, so here's a good thing to talk about for anybody who's watching who might be a commissioner, or maybe you can have this conversation with your commissioner, because there's still 2 hours until kickoff. We've put in place a protocol where, and this has been going around Twitter, so it's not our idea. We've borrowed this idea from the community. But if you have a Chief or a Patriot that you want to start, but the game's happening Monday, potentially Tuesday, like, we don't know, but it's in the future, and let's say you've got Pat Mahomes or you've got Travis Kelce, or a slew of other options, and you're just like, well, I need to start these guys to get a win, but I don't want to take the chance that I get a 0. What we're doing is we're allowing people to play Travis Kelce in their starting spot, but then before kickoff today, naming a backup player that we as commissioners can then swap in should the game be canceled. Now, if Travis Kelce plays, you get the points that Travis Kelce got, and your backup that you named is irrelevant. But I don't think it's fair that fantasy football players, owners, should be penalized for something that they have no control over. There's no way that I can plan for this. I mean, I can put in, a tight end 3. I can put in a tight end 2/3 that I pick up off waivers, but I don't want to have to take the chance that Travis Kelce may or may not play based on scheduling versus his health, because I know he's healthy and ready to go. So that's what we've put in place, and so far it seems to be pretty well received.
Yeah, man. When COVID's affecting your fantasy players, people get pissed. People aren't happy about it. And this whole Cam Newton being out is tough. Again, you should have COVID IR spots on your league. Maybe you need to add more. Maybe you need to have, if you do a vote, it needs to be unanimous, but maybe you add an extra 2 IR spots to your roster because this is just the beginning of this insane 2020 fantasy year.
It really is. Yeah, we've gone up to 4 IR spots in most of our leagues, except for one dynasty. We've got 2, but it's a 25-player roster, so you should have lots of options. But in terms of your question, am I fading anybody in particular this week? It's going to be tough to fade because there's so many players now, like relevant players now out. But Baker Mayfield is a fade for me. I haven't liked what I've seen the last couple weeks, and they played Dallas, which is somewhat of a soft matchup, but I think they're going to try to run the ball because that's what they do. Kareem Hunt, you'll see on our graphic here, he is questionable to play. I think he does play, but the focus will still be on the ground. And Baker Mayfield has been ineffective. He's been inefficient. He really hasn't found anybody with success through the passing game so far, and I don't have a lot of confidence in him this week.
Yeah. So we've got a couple questions in the chat here. I answered Dylan, but I want to hear your opinion on this one. He's got Chris Carson, who's banged up last week, has that knee sprain, but he is expected to play, and Adam Thielen. Both of them have good matchups. Carson plays the Dolphins. Otherwise, I'd be fading Carson on an injury like that. But it's the Dolphins, man. Like, last year, if you started a running back against the Dolphins, he put up like 200 on the ground. Like, Carson, if he gets that workload, can go bananas.
Look, Lando, I get it. And the piece of Chris Carson and his, may or may not play, I think he plays for the record.
Yeah. But how many snaps?
Right. We don't know to what extent, but it is Miami. You're right. They should be in a position to run the ball out. They should be able to run this game down. Russell Wilson is going to be cooking again. I think Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf are, smash starts. But Adam Thielen's also playing the Houston Texans, who have a really, really soft secondary. And I know it's a tough one with full health. I might lean Carson here, but the matchup for Adam Thielen is great. The target share is great for Adam Thielen. The secondary is weak. I'm going Adam Thielen with 100% confidence in this pick.
Love it. That's what I messaged him
nice.
As well. Chase Bridges. So we have Marquise Brown or Terry McLaurin. In that same matchup, it's a standard league. You don't get points for catches. That's a tough question, man.
Which one was that, sorry? Oh, Chase.
Marquise Brown or Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, and Marquise Brown has been fairly underwhelming so far. I mean, he's looked good on the field. Like, his route running has improved from what I've seen, creating more separation. But Lamar hasn't been great throwing the football so far, and they're another team, obviously, that runs the ball the most in the league by a far stretch over anybody else. It's just tough to pivot off Marquise Brown if Terry McLaurin is a little bit uncertain going into game time. So I believe he's a game time decision today, McLaurin, but
he's expected to play as of right now. But again, you're right. A slight injury concern is but against Baltimore, it makes it even worse. It compounds.
A really gross, want to puke in your mouth kind of start there. If Terry McLaurin doesn't play, is Dontrell Inman. He had 2 touchdowns last week. He was kind of like the Mike Evans show, where most of his production was just in the end zone. It wasn't to the extent of 2 catches for 2 receptions and 2 touchdowns, but So I think right now I would have Marquise Brown slotted in my lineup and waiting to hear more news on Terry. But yeah, did we get Easy's question at the beginning?
We did not. Easy always gets forgotten about. He's in there before everyone, and we should get this guy.
So he said, good morning. Good morning, my brother. I got a coffee here going. In a full PPR, should I start David Montgomery or Chase Edmonds? I think that is getting too cute. You got to go David Montgomery.
Yeah. Correct.
Even though they made a move for Lamar Miller, I just see that as a depth play with Tariq Cohen going down, torn Achilles, I believe it was. It's David Montgomery, full steam ahead, no questions asked. Danny says, good morning, what's up? Danny, he goes, is Debo a start today? And you see Debo on the graphic. I'm glad someone asked this question. My rule is typically that I don't start players on their week back, but given the context of this week where there's so many players now out, I'm willing to take a shot on Deebo Samuel. Had this COVID week happened last week, I might have played Kenny Golladay in more spots just because of the urgency now. The lineup of starting players is so much smaller because we're missing Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, and every other player that's been ruled out for a postponed or canceled game in injuries. So I am rolling out Deebo Samuel with full confidence. You see how they've been using Brandon Ayuk as a gadget player, taking balls out of the backfield, running on screen passes, dumping it off short and making use of run schemes in the zone. We forget that Deebo Samuel is the number one guy to run that position. It's not Brandon Ayuk. It's not who they drafted to be, their rookie replacement. That's Deebo Samuel's job. And Deebo Samuel wouldn't play if he wasn't healthy. They wouldn't let him do it. I'm going full confidence on Deebo. I think he has a massive game. I got him in DraftKings.
All right, so I'm going to put that to the test, Mac, before we get more questions. DJ Chark or Samuel?
Samuel.
Oh! All right, I can go up the list, set it down. I thought I was starting high.
Well, so DJ Chark is another guy coming off an injury. But Jacksonville, DJ Chark has been consistently average so far. Hasn't gotten into the end zone. The volume's been okay, but they want to run the football as well. And
all right, up the list. How about this? How about what we just answered? Marquise Brown or Samuel?
I would go Samuel.
Oh, Michael Gallup or Samuel?
I'd probably draw the line there.
Okay, all right. So he's a top 24 wide receiver for us.
Could be. I mean, their zone schemes are so solid, and we saw last week, in a softer matchup, those guys can still run the football. Jerick McKinnon came in after 2 years of no work and looked like an absolute superstar. And it's all a product of that San Francisco, running scheme. They run it through zone, they run it through man. They're fantastic.
Yeah, no, for sure. I hope he blows up. I hope he waited long enough that he comes back in full health. And that's truly, you don't want a nagging injury to come in and he plays 2 snaps and he's out again. I do believe the 49ers waited long enough. He'll be back to full
and the
capacity,
fact that he wasn't put on the PUP to begin the season kind of showed us that his timeline was less than 6 weeks, and we're 4 weeks in now. This is about the time that we expected Debo to be back, right? Because if it was any longer, he might as well have just gone on the PUP. So, Danny, I hope by me answering that question that I would start Deebo Samuel over DJ Chark and Marquise Brown, that you take that as I would start him over Cole Beasley too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Kevin. Andrew, man, I hope you send that message back. I know you're in some trouble right now. We're here to help you out at the wide receiver position. We got you. If you want to reword that message, it's all good.
Kevin's back. What's up, Kev?
What up, Kev? I have Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, and Ridley. I was planning to start 2 at wide receiver and 1 at the flex. Ridley being in question, should I start Mixon at the flex? That's a great question.
Damn.
Mixon has been a disappointment. Your wide receivers are awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Robert Woods is a guy I'm playing a lot in DFS this week. I just traded for Amari, and Ridley's the number 1 wide receiver in football. So, I think I would still flex Mixon or flex. Sorry, I'd flex.
You're going the trio of wide receivers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's tough. I do expect Calvin Ridley to play. You can see he's not on our graphic here. He was never really in consideration for us. I'd go the trio of wide receivers. I know that Joe Mixon hasn't given you what you want so far, and a friendly reminder, if you guys don't tune into the show, if you don't listen to the podcast, we've talked about Joe Mixon in that he is a trade target for us. We're trying to acquire him because he typically has slow starts. Last year, Joe Mixon was the running back 32 in the first half of the fantasy year. And then second half, he was running back 10. So the dude, it was a tale of 2 seasons, much like Keenan Allen has been in previous years too. So we have confidence that Joe Mixon does get it going, and this very well might be the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Calvin Ridley, like Landon said, is the number one wide receiver in football. And if he plays, he's going to be fantastic. Julio Jones also out, so he's the alpha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. So, should I keep CeeDee Lamb or replace him with Debo or Renfro? Is that where would you prefer the Debo safety there?
I would take CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're excited about Debo, but there's still that slight risk factor. And CeeDee Lamb is just a baller. They're gonna throw a ton in Dallas. So, what's your thoughts on Preston Williams? Just as a general thought, they're in a good matchup. We're expecting Devontae Parker to have a big game this week. I've got Preston Williams just outside maybe a wide receiver 3. He's a flex consideration, but I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah, against Seattle, I know. So the only thing is that Seattle defense is missing some pieces. Last week was not a good week for them health-wise. They lost a couple players. I believe Jamal Adams was one of those guys. So to me, yeah, Preston Williams, I mean, if you're like me in one league, I'm starting Preston Williams because I lost Chris Godwin, I lost Derrick Henry, I lost Corey Davis, and I lost Deontay Johnson. So I'm like really, really thin, and Preston Williams for me is a good spot start. Like Landon said, he's a fringe wide receiver 3. But what we know about Ryan Fitzpatrick, and a lot of people are actually saying, should I start Ryan Fitzpatrick this week over X or replace Ryan Fitzpatrick with X? Fitzpatrick's not afraid to throw the ball. And,
no,
if they're down, he's throwing. And it won't be the Myles Gaskin show. It'll be the Preston Williams, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki show. That's what it will be. So, yeah, I do. I mean, all Preston Williams has to do at his ranking right now is get into the end zone, and you got yourself what you need. Anything close to 10 fantasy points out of Preston Williams would be great.
Yeah, totally. I like that a lot. I'm big on Ryan Fitzpatrick this week as well. I think he's gonna have a big game. All right, Jimmy Graham, Danny. I would start Jimmy Graham. I think you're probably fine. A guy I like at the tight end position for a deep stash is Jordan Akins in that Minnesota game.
Our boy Andre here got his question back. Hi guys, I'm in trouble with my wide receivers. Should I start Kendrick Bourne or AJ Green? I have Tyler Boyd in my lineup also. So should he take 2 Bengals or pivot off of one and go Kendrick Bourne, who's been all right?
It's never fun having 2 Bengals in your lineup. But if you play them independently, you're fine, right? That's what it feels like. If you didn't have Tyler Boyd, you would start AJ Green over Bourne, no question. But I'm willing to start both, Mac. I'm willing to go with both guys. I asked him if he had Joe Burrow as well, because if that's the case,
yes.
Hey man,
shoot for the fences.
Yeah, team ahead. Let's go, baby.
The difference between AJ Green and Kendrick Bourne in our rankings is about 35 spots, and Tyler Boyd is ahead of AJ Green. So the volume is there for AJ Green. He hasn't done anything with it, but he's still the number 1 targeted wide receiver in this offense. And then Tyler Boyd. I mean, I think that Cincinnati wins this game. So. Yeah. Someone's going to have to score points to make that happen, and why not have the wide receiver 1s and 2s going?
Whatever I do to my recommendation for him here, do not watch the game because you're just going to be sweating the whole time. Watch a good game with some other fantasy players, but don't even watch the game. Just see the box score at the end. They're both, I think, Boyd could finish with about 17 fantasy points, and Green, I think, about 12.
Brad says I was going to ask about starting Greg Ward Jr. or Deebo Samuel, but I think I got my answer. No, Brad, it's Greg Ward Jr. I think. Brad.
When it's Brad's the name we're asking or answering questions from, we're going opposite. With Greg Ward.
Correct.
Good call.
Very
Great question,
good, Brad.
Thanks.
Well done. I wish I was playing him. Any stories about Lamar Miller to the Bears? No, nothing really. It's, again, they lost Tariq Cohen, torn Achilles. It's a depth play for them, and he was one of the only running backs, just kind of hanging out in free agency. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't own Montgomery anywhere, so I'd be thrilled if Lamar went to the Bears. Go Bears.
Jack Armstrong. I hope this is the Jack Armstrong from TSN basketball. Hey guys, I have Henry. I'm definitely starting McKinnon. Should I start Antonio Gibson, Mark Ingram, or Nyheim Hines? I don't know if you're asking us if we need to pick you another running back to go as a pair, or if you want us to say start Gibson, Ingram, or Hines over McKinnon. But yeah, losing Derrick Henry is a tough one this week.
Yeah.
So
sure.
if it's the case that he's asking us to start Gibson, Ingram, or Hines over McKinnon, the only one I would consider would be Mark Ingram. But I think McKinnon is good to go. Depending on his health, it might be more of a dose of Jeff Wilson Jr. Than you might like. It might not be what we saw last week, but he still should be relevant.
Ingram is probably the call here. It's gross. We're waiting. Like, Mark Ingram had one pretty good week. It should be a good game script against Washington. My bold prediction in that game, I think Lamar is going to absolutely go off, and he's going to put the team on his back and have a big game. That could benefit Marquise Brown. It could be checkdowns to Mark Ingram. I think Gus Edwards is going to get a ton of garbage time.
The only thing I fear is that Mark Ingram is at some point going to lose his job to J.K. Dobbins. And we're going to see him worked in more, but I don't think it starts this week. If you're going to pivot off McKinnon, I would go with Mark Ingram. If you're asking us to go pair, it's McKinnon Ingram.
I would love to see J.K. Dobbins. I think he's the best talent in that backfield. I think when it comes down to it and they need speed and ability in tough matchups, it might be a J.K. Dobbins show. But until I don't know if anyone runs away with the job, it's just going to be a trio of nastiness in Baltimore until we see otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a new question here, which is great. Jason McDonald, new to the pod. What's up, Jason? Welcome in, my brother.
Thanks for coming, man.
Feel free to like or subscribe if you like what you see here. Showed up a little bit late to the party. That's always cool. We go all the way till 12:45 and sometimes even later if Landon's feeling up to it. We might have already asked the question or answered the question, who do I start? Terry McLaurin or DJ Chark? So Terry McLaurin is, I think, questionable at the moment. Expected to play, but not 100% health. DJ Chark coming back from an injury. I think they're fairly close in the rankings. I mean, Terry McLaurin is a fringe wide receiver 2, whereas DJ Chark is a upper end wide receiver 3 this week. The rankings lean Terry McLaurin, but should he not play, DJ Chark is a nice pivot. The only reason I say DJ Chark would be my answer here is because Terry McLaurin playing the Ravens isn't the greatest matchup, and Chark playing the Bengals, who have just been torched this year, giving up a lot of points to fantasy wide receivers. I would go DJ Chark. The matchup.
I'm starting to lean DJ Chark as well. I think he's going to be healthy. He's been nagged by a hamstring. In a good matchup, hopefully it's a shootout in Cincinnati. That's what we're hoping for, where Terry McLaurin, he's going to get volume, but it's going to be a tough battle to get him that volume. Haskins is going to have to work at it to get McLaurin. It does seem like every time I look at it, between the 20s, it's McLaurin, but those frustrating touchdowns to Edmonds is just kills you as a McLaurin owner in fantasy. Great question. Thanks for coming by, Jason. We appreciate you guys for stopping in. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Again, we answer all of your questions. Shoot us a DM if you have any more stuff after we stop for a 4:00 game. If things change, or Monday night, we're Snap_Fantasy on Instagram, Snap_Fantasy on Twitter, and you can catch our personal ones. We'll help you out the best we can, Jason.
And it's funny, a lot of the feedback that we get in our podcast ratings and through Instagram and Twitter is like, or even comments of videos, it's like, I know that we're not Mike Wright of the Fantasy Footballers. I know that we're not Mike Takeler of the Fantasy Pros. But people say, I like going to Mac and Lando and the Snap because I always get my question answered. And that's like something I know that we're trying to get to 400 subscribers on YouTube. We're trying to get to 2,000 followers on Twitter. We know that we're small, but it's important that we help everybody else that comes by. And that's really like our goal, is just to get to everybody. And, as we get bigger, that might not be able to maintain. But right now, with the small community that we're building, we have the ability to interact with everybody, answer every single question, and, at the end of the day, help as many people as we can. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. And for those of you that are watching, a like goes a long way, and we appreciate you being with us. So emergency from Mr. Ruiz: I can't decide between AJ Green and Hunter Renfro. Please help.
Renfro this week is just he's the last man standing in Vegas, right? And he's a popular ad. Everyone, I recommended him as an emergency ad because of all these COVID games. If you had Corey Davis in your lineup, or now there was questions about the New England Kansas City game, he was the guy that was available mostly, and it's just him and Waller. That's it. But Buffalo's a tough defense, and I don't have the utmost confidence in Renfro. Maybe in a full PPR league, he might get as many targets as AJ Green, but I would still prefer AJ Green in that 100%. Jacksonville game.
Yeah. There was one question here that just came in from Andre, and I wanted to talk about this one before we go any further. He said, now that Davante Adams is a game-time decision and is playing Monday night, should I still keep him in my lineup? And we actually talked about this scenario before we started recording, where I think that there are really nice pivots within that Monday night matchup that you still might be able to get on your waiver wires. So if you have Davante Adams, 1, keep him in your flex spot. 2, go out and grab either Marquez Valdes-Scantling as a handcuff or Russell Gage, who also projects to have a solid game. So that's kind of the answer, is keep Davante Adams in there, but should something happen, pivot off of Marquez Valdes-Scantling or pivot off into Russell Gage. But if Davante plays, you know what Davante does. So
you have more options now for that Monday night game, the Kansas City game. If you go with like McCole Hardman on your bench, or and maybe N'Keal Harry's available as well. You kind of got to go. You have more options on Monday night. Again, we heard from Davante saying he wants to be 100% before he comes back. So I hope he's 100%. If he is, he's obviously arguably the number one player or receiver in fantasy football. So
not arguably, maybe the number 2.
He is.
DeAndre Hopkins has been unbelievable. IAK47, hi, hello. Which flex should I choose this week? Laviska Shenault, Darius Slayton, Gio Bernard, or Darnell Mooney?
AK, man, that is a rough lineup here.
Hey, it only goes for me between the first 2 options, Laviska or Darius Slayton. And, man, between those 2, I think you have to go Shenault for the lineup, or for the matchup.
You've been a Slayton fan for a while, but they play the Rams. And, again, if you go with Gio, you're really hoping for the game script to be that way. You're hoping for Mixon to keep getting pulled on those third downs. And however many long third downs the Bengals are going to have, that's what you're hoping for Gio. So that's exactly why Mac is going for these wide receivers. Shenault has been used all over the field. You're right. He's been used as a running back, as just a jet sweep guy. He's a very talented wide receiver. But I'm not going to get off Slayton yet. So I'm sorry you're not really getting a ton of help, because Mac's going Shenault and I'm going Slayton.
It narrows it to 2. The other 2 options are just not there for me.
Yeah. Slayton, even in a tough matchup, should be the number 1 wide receiver. It's going to be a Terry McLaurin type. He's just not as talented, where you don't want to watch that game because the Rams are going to dominate for so much. Daniel Jones is going to get sacked like crazy. Aaron Donald's going to get in his kitchen every single play. Slayton, you're hoping for a long touchdown. You're hoping for a broken play, and that's kind of it. And Shenault, you're looking for I guess the same kind of thing. He's not going to get a ton of volume.
Andre, thank you for the subscription. We appreciate the support. We're trying to get up to 400 subs, and last week you guys absolutely killed it. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Share us with your friends, and we'll see you in the future. Eduardo says, how do you feel about Mark Andrews? He's been a little bit inconsistent, but I have a feeling he's going to be great against Washington. I'll throw in my 2 cents here, Landon, before you do. I understand Mark Andrews hasn't given you the boom, and that's what you're expecting when you drafted him.
Oh, week 1 he did.
Sure, maybe.
He had 2 touchdowns.
Didn't
he?
Anyways, either way, you drafted him as the 3rd tight end off the board, maybe 2nd if you reached. He hasn't really impressed compared to what you thought you were getting based off the last year. What you have to understand is that the target volume for Mark Andrews is there, and it's continued to be there. He is number 4 among tight ends in volume, target volume. He's number 2 in red zone targets, and he's number 5. He's the 5th most routes run at the tight end position. So Mark Andrews is being utilized. He just hasn't gotten into the end zone as much as you wanted. And that comes from Baltimore just not throwing the ball. Lamar having a down game, probably the worst game of his fantasy career. You have to stick with Mark Andrews. You have to. You can't pivot off of him.
You have to. He's going to have a massive game this week against Washington. Like I said, I am expecting Lamar to go absolutely bananas. And if you just want to get out and want to go with a guy like T.J. Hawkinson, maybe Jonnu Smith now that he's back, you can sell Mark Andrews if you want to be out on him and get one of those guys plus a player. So maybe that's strategy if you're considering, if you don't like the low volume passing offense, or you don't think the Baltimore Ravens are for real anymore.
Miguel says, hey guys, who should I start? DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley, or Tyler Lockett? Need help. Who do I start? LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, or look, the options here are fantastic. I don't know how you get away from. Oh man, like how many are we starting here? Are we starting 1? Because is it a 1 wide receiver start?
If we're
let's just do these in order then, Landon. Who's number 1 for you?
So number 1's still got to be. So does he? Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
Agreed.
Even hurt. Tyler Lockett number 2, and then the only thing. So if you're concerned at all about Calvin Ridley's health and you got to wait for a Monday night, then you just play Keenan Allen and don't worry about it. But if you want to get the higher upside, we know that Calvin Ridley will have that based on what he has shown so far. Like this guy's, he could score 2 or 3 touchdowns without blinking an eye, it seems like. So. But we know the volume is super safe for Keenan Allen, even though it's a tough matchup. He just gets hyper targeted. So yeah, that's kind of where I would go there.
Man, really good problem to have. Tyler Lockett, I don't know if I could sit him down this week, just with what we saw from him last week, with how good Russell Wilson has been. I mean, probably the MVP front runner right now. He's on another level. He's playing so well. And Tyler Lockett in a soft matchup against the Dolphins. Give me all the Seattle Seahawks offensive players I can, please.
So, breaking news coming in, Mac. Carlos Hyde is inactive.
Oh man, that's just so groundbreaking.
But no, I'm just saying it bodes well for Chris Carson. I mean, yeah, that's bigger news for Carson than anything, and that we should just start Carson with more confidence this week.
When does DJ Dallas get the call up?
Maybe next year,
I think.
I don't know.
I'm here from Sleeper for my AJ Green, Alex. Sorry, I just read Alex's name. Hey, Alex. I'm here for AJ Green, Myles Gaskin, Hunter Renfro, Jeff Wilson, flex decision, full PPR. Great stuff. We appreciate you coming over. Who would you put in the flex here? I'm staying off Myles Gaskin and Jeff Wilson in this case.
I mean, my consideration was Gaskin.
Interesting. So in a game script that potentially, definitely probably goes upside down for them, You really want to put Myles Gaskin
Right.
in there?
I mean, I don't want to, but I do. Gaskin was
I get it. The volume was
used
there.
up.
22
Yeah,
carries last week. Only picked up 66
yeah,
yards. Used in the passing game. Like, it feels like
yeah.
if the volume's not there for Myles Gaskin, neither will the efficiency. So I don't really love that play. I think I would rather have the target volume with AJ Green in a game where I think they can win. And if they don't, then the game script for a wide receiver gets better if they're down than it does for a running back.
Yeah, being a full PPR, Alex, I think that's where you can lean on AJ Green. The weeks are running out for AJ Green to produce for your fantasy team, and I know we seem to be on him. We're getting lots of AJ Green questions this week. Mac and I are both we're not super high on him. He's a fringe. He's a wide receiver 3 for us, but I still think the volume based on the players we're getting options for should be there. I want to see AJ Green in a good game script. This game I'm going to, because of all the questions we're getting, I'm invested now in this game, in this Jacksonville game. I'm going to be watching this game because of all of y'all, and I want to see AJ Green perform. I've got him in a league, and I want to see him actually do something. So full PPR, I mean, I do think the floor is still Gaskin, but I do think the upside in a PPR league, AJ Green should see and get you about 15 to 12 fantasy points in a full PPR league.
Yeah, if he doesn't get into the end zone. Right.
Yeah, that's if he doesn't.
So love the question. Hopefully we answered that for you, Alex. Thanks for dropping by, and we hope you return. Jamal Jones is back again. 2 questions. First one, Greg Ward Jr. or Jeff Wilson in a full PPR?
Oh,
that is probably the grossest question. You earned grossest question of the week.
Start Hollywood Brown, by the way.
The second question for sure. Start Hollywood. But yeah, between Greg Ward Jr. and Jeff Wilson, where are you leaning here, Landon?
Jeff? I don't know. It's this is tough. Like, I know Jeff Wilson just seems they run such a good zone running game, man. Like, as much as Jeff Wilson, like, he's not going to get the volume. We have Jerick McKinnon starting. Between those two, they could both be relevant. They were last week. It's Ward is going to see the volume.
I don't know if he does, though. I really don't know. My confidence in Carson Wentz to deliver the ball to anybody other than Miles Sanders or a tight end is just, it's so low. They haven't been able to protect him. He's been really, really bad. I don't have any faith. I will go with Jeff Wilson Jr. if those are my only 2 options.
Greg Ward's going to be one of those fantasy players this week that I very well could disappoint. You're going to see targets going to players for the Philadelphia Eagles that you've never heard of before. Being like, who is this guy? Is he a CFL, XFL player? Like, what is he doing on the field? You think it's going to be Greg Ward, but it's not. So,
5 minutes ago, coming in off of Twitter, Kareem Hunt, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Chris Carson, all active. And like you said, Landon, Carlos Hyde is inactive.
So I didn't
give the whole list, but that kind of puts some, Chris Carson owners, a little bit of confidence there. DeAndre Hopkins, if you were ever doubting him, he is good to go. And I never doubted him. I mean, when you look at the volume he's been getting the first 3 weeks, I mean, he's had 2 16-target games. DeAndre Hopkins has put in the work, and he just needs a veteran day. Like, DeAndre Hopkins doesn't need to be at practice. He doesn't need to be a full participant. He can go through walkthroughs. He can be there observing and taking mental notes, but to fatigue his body further than it has at this point is just a silly move. So this was, I think, a good move for him to get some rest and get healthy for the week. I like to see Hopkins do that.
Yo, Vivek, this is a great question, man. So in a lot of our leagues, we are assigning backup players. So if you missed that, you should have an alternative plan, whether it's a tight end on your bench, if it's I mean, there's lots. If you have Travis Kelce, you might not have another one, but guys pick up like Drew Sample, for example, where we'll go to our commissioner and say, yo, I've got Travis Kelce playing Monday night. If the game is canceled, and that's not your fault that the game is canceled, Drew Sample's my backup. And then Tyreek Hill, I've got Hunter Renfro. Hunter Renfro's my backup. And then you start Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and then if that game for some reason is canceled for an unforeseen reason, you get the points on your bench, but you need to start Kelce and Tyreek Hill in your lineup. And honestly, for you, I'm foreseeing this game to happen Monday night. It should be a back-to-back doubleheader Monday night game. It should be a lot of fun. I'm expecting this game to play. The results have come back positive, so that
you mean negative?
No more additional. So yeah, the results have come back negative. Positive for our fantasy outlook that this game actually happens. So I'm expecting the New England Kansas City game to play. You need to start Kelce and Tyreek. You have to play.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, not everybody will be in this position where their commissioners are willing to put in the time to make sure that fantasy owners can, play their players with confidence. So if you have a commissioner that's just like, nope, tough luck, it is what it is, roll with it, adapt. It's a shot that you have to take. If you are favored to lose and you need these players to play for you, and pivoting won't get you close, I think you have to just take the shot that these guys play and have big games. Because at the end of the day, you might need the points. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. So I would probably take a shot if that's the case in your league. But if your commissioner is fairly flexible and they're open to that idea, I would float that idea now. You have an hour and 15 minutes till kickoff. That can definitely get done in the meantime.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. I haven't seen your name yet, so I'm glad you're new to the channel. We answer every single question. You can get us on Twitter and Instagram at snap_fantasy. And a quick like and subscribe goes a long way for us. We're just trying to reach that 400 subscriber goal. We're small time, but we're trying to grow our community. So thanks for coming by, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We don't have, Danny, we don't have any rest of season rankings. We did a massive ranking and projections last year, and where our time is spent better talking to you guys on these live streams. We're here grinding with you guys. We're changing we're very custom in our answers and rankings, so that's where we're spending our time doing this stuff instead of you can get rest of season rankings from the footballers from Fantasy Pros. So go there for that kind of stuff. If you want personal interaction, that's why you come to
Absolutely.
us.
I mean, there's so much on the internet right now that you can get access to. We like to spend more of our time trying to identify trends instead of ranking players on a week-to-week or season-per-season basis, because at the end of the day, everyone perceives players differently, and there's a lot of factors that go into, players being absent or being last-minute decisions, or are you winning your fantasy matchup or not? Do you need a higher ceiling play or a higher floor play? All these factors really play into making your decision, and without context, rankings are sometimes misleading. So that's why, like Landon said, we like to have that personal interaction, that conversation, which is so important to fantasy football, and that's where we like to spend our time, not grinding on rankings, but helping you guys go through your stuff.
Rankings are sometimes misleading.
Brad is back. Gesicki, Gronk, or Olsen today. He's looking for a little bit of a tight end start. Gesicki, Gronk, Olsen. Who are you going?
Gesicki, no question, Brad. That was
Now
he's gonna have a big game.
Now hold on. You say no question, but I think Greg Olsen has been quite good.
He's been all right,
and Russell Wilson really does like him.
Gesicki has been really good. It's still a good matchup against Seattle. He seems Gesicki when I'm watching the Dolphins, he's getting lots of targets in the red zone, whether he's coming down with all of them or not. Olsen is just not the athlete he used to be. I like Olsen to maybe get into the end zone this week, but I also like Gesicki to get an end zone plus at least 70 yards or like between 50 and 70 yards through the air. So that's why I'm going with the volume play. There's not just the volume for Olsen to sustain a fantasy relevant day without getting in.
I mean, we did see that hyper-targeted 130-yard game for Mike Gesicki, and that was – were they without Preston Williams that week? I can't remember. But the game script was bad. And like we said, Ryan Fitzpatrick, not afraid to throw the ball. Mike Gesicki would be my answer too. I just don't discount what Greg Olsen is starting to build with Russell Wilson. We've seen Russell Wilson use his tight end. Like Will Dissly became a thing because of Russell Wilson. And he hasn't really gotten back to full health since his 2 knee injuries. But yeah, man, I would keep Olsen on the bench and see how this whole situation plays out. But Gesicki would definitely be the answer for me. Gronk is almost droppable at this point. And I actually might even go as far as to say, try to trade Gronk before he's worth next to nothing.
I do. So, I mean, I'm almost getting convinced, Mac, that this week Gronk has a decent game because of Godwin being out and everything. I don't, again, if he does something this week, get him off your team, trade him. This is Scott's perspective. I'm not projecting that at all. I think it's a more of a hunch than a projection. I can't comfortably project Gronk to have that big game. It's just not going to happen for me. I'm going to start almost every other tight end instead. But I see the narrative and the relationship with Tom, and they're getting acclimated to the NFL now. He was off for a year, but yeah, exactly. Just the big name, and if you can still trade him, that's what I would do.
Yeah, get rid of Gronk now, please.
Trade question by Lord Next. Matt, this is up your alley,
I trade
my friend.
Melvin Gordon, Justin Jefferson for Last Jackson? I'm gonna assume that means Lamar Jackson.
Lamar, he fixed
that.
that.
Okay, got it. Lamar. I see the crying face underneath. Melvin Gordon, Justin Jefferson. Depends on your league, I think. Is it a Superflex league? Is it a 1 QB league? 6-point passing, 4-point.
Is it a keeper league at all?
I mean, you're selling high on Melvin Gordon and Justin Jefferson, and to me, I would do this deal if the other side is obviously willing to trade Lamar away. I think they should be asking for more, but if you're good at the running back position and you can afford to lose Melvin Gordon, then yeah, I think so, because Justin Jefferson was a super late pick for a lot of people, and you're not counting to start him in most leagues. So yeah, trade that 175-yard game and a touchdown for Justin Jefferson. Sell that Melvin Gordon performance from Thursday night and get yourself Lamar Jackson, who people are probably down on after last week.
Melvin is a perfect sell high candidate after that Thursday night game that everyone saw. I was trying to get him off my team last week, but this is a perfect chance to sell high on Melvin Gordon. I don't have super confidence in him. We'll see Philip Lindsay come back into the Royce Freeman get in there as well. This could be just a little bit of a messy backfield going forward. So yeah, sell Melvin high. I like that. I don't mind that at all.
Absolutely. Brad says Godwin out. I expect one of the Tampa Bay tight ends to step up. I like Olsen as a flyer. For the record, I have Gesicki in now. Yeah, and to be honest, in a lot of spots where I lost Travis Kelce or Jonnu Smith, because those seem to be my most popular tight ends, I picked up O.J. Howard as a spot start because he's been involved more so in the passing game than Gronk has. It seems like they've been using Gronk more as the blocking tight end, and O.J. Howard kind of pushing out to get some routes. So O.J. Howard is a guy I'm looking for, the guy to get the passing volume. It's not going to be Gronk in my estimation. I'll let Gronk have a good week this week. Yeah, I don't see it. I really don't. I see O.J. Howard getting the volume. Sure, either of them could catch a touchdown, and that's really all you're looking for at the tight end position each week is a red zone score. But yeah, we'll see. Miguel, another question. As many as you want, man. As many as you want. We are here for you, and your questions keep this thing moving. Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery. He has Derrick Henry and James Conner, but can't use them, obviously, so Taylor or Montgomery. It's Jonathan Taylor for me. Top 10 running back on the week. No questions about it. Book it. Locked. Sealed. Delivered. To your heart.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Louise, should I start Joshua Kelly? I have Connor, but he's out because of COVID. Yeah. That's a tough matchup against the Bucks. They have a stout running defense.
I would want to know who are your other options.
Yeah. Joshua Kelly, I think he disappointed a lot of people last week. Joshua Kelly was on my list because of the Henry and Connor and being out, that he was an emergency maybe pick up or start if you absolutely need him. He's not going to get you a 0. You hope he gets into the end zone. That's basically the main reason why to roster Joshua Kelly. Louise, I'd like to see your other options running.
Yeah.
That's another question.
Yeah, so the next question coming in, should I start Kareem Hunt today? Or should I throw in Marvin Jones or DJ Chark? And for me, DJ Chark would be above Marvin Jones. So I'm going to go between Chark and Hunt. I'm going to roll Kareem Hunt. Like I said earlier, I think Cleveland will be able to do a lot on the ground, and they have been trying to use a steady dose of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Really good change of pace, different skill set backs. And what we've seen from Kareem Hunt, when he gets carries, he's just as effective. Like, he's reminding me of his days in Kansas City. He looks like a special back, and it's crazy that he got extended, because I think without that, he could have been, headed somewhere else and back to extreme fantasy relevance. But with DJ Chark returning off of injury, I am hopeful that he has a good game, but I think Kareem Hunt is definitely the play.
Sounds good. Did you cut out a little bit. Did you answer Hood Media? Mike Davis, Dave Montgomery, Rojo, Miles Gaskin.
Oh, no, sorry, I missed that one. Thank you. Start 2 in a full PPR, Mike Davis, David Montgomery, Rojo, Miles Gaskin. I think it has to be Mike Davis and David Montgomery, just based off of Mike Davis's utilization last week. More involved than I thought he would be. And Landon hit that one right on the head. So Davis, Montgomery, don't second guess that one.
So Louise got back to us. Joshua Kelly or Devonta Freeman are his options at running back. So that's got to be tough for you.
Brad said Gronk was 93% snap share last week compared to OJ 49. Gronk is definitely on the trade block, especially with a good week 4 performance. Now, those stats can be misleading. You're saying Gronk's on the field 93% of the time, but his utilization as a blocker lends him to be that in so many formations. So
yeah, how many routes run?
Exactly. Routes run is the better metric to use to see who was more heavily used, and it was OJ Howard. So, and I know Gronk had his best fantasy game of last week, so it's probably closer than it was or has been. But again, OJ Howard is the one that I would be using, because if he's coming in for 49% of plays, he's probably being used more so as a pass catcher than a blocker.
Brad's like one of those fake fantasy analysts. He thinks he knows a lot, but he's trying, man. He's trying.
You can't discount Brad. He put in the homework for our listener league. It's a tiered PPR. He broke down every single wide receiver in the top, I think at 36 or 50. And he's 5-1 right now behind behind me and B Schwartz. He's ahead of you, Landon. So maybe I should have Brad kind of swap in and you just take a rest.
There's a reason why he's watching us on YouTube and we're not watching him, let me tell you.
Body bag.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Louise, Mac, Joshua Kelly or Devonta Freeman?
Josh Kelly. Yep.
There you go. Josh Kelly it is, my man.
Yep. So I was talking to my commissioner for our league, and he is having trouble finding the setting where it allows him to turn off the lock function for a player is playing already or being played. Vivek, what platform are you playing on? Is it Sleeper? Is it Yahoo? Is it NFL? Like, we need to know, because then we can help you out a little bit. And you wouldn't be turning off the lock function. You would actually, as a commissioner, come Monday or Tuesday, switching the players out. So as a commissioner, you have complete control to change people's rosters, or even total points if you wanted to just do the quick math and change the total points. But that's what you would be doing. They're playing on ESPN. We don't play on ESPN in any of our leagues. So sorry, we can't help you fully, but there's got to be some sort of commissioner control where players can be swapped out after the week, before everything goes through for final calculations, or you can just edit total points. So that's what you'd be looking to do, not turn off the lock function, but actually manipulating the each team's roster that needed to make the switch.
Yeah, turning off the lock function just gets super messy. People mess around. You can't monitor every player, every team. So that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to override it afterwards, and do that. But I would still start Kansas City Chiefs players. I think they play the game, man.
I do too. Yeah. Taylor, my man. Christian Kirk or T.Y. Hilton? Easy one for me.
You're staying in the flames with Hilton.
100%. Yeah.
Well, not in the flames, but yeah.
I'm not going to the ice age where Christian Kirk has been residing.
You're not pivoting.
Yeah, come on, man.
Kirk is the right answer.
Christian Kirk.
Or no,
thank
sorry,
you, Hilton.
Right
Christian
answer.
Kirk has been super disappointing.
Yeah.
Like,
he's been hurt the whole time.
Like,
yeah,
just gross.
Mac, this is a great question for you. Lord Next is wondering what our thoughts for DJ Moore going forward. I'm going to start by saying he is one of the most owned wide receivers on DraftKings this week. He is a fantasy darling, or an analyst darling. We love the talent of DJ Moore, but he's early, basically based on what Robbie Anderson's been getting in the end zone. Give me your 2 cents on DJ Moore going forward.
It's okay, so full disclosure, transparency, everything. I just made 2 trades this week that involved me receiving DJ Moore.
Yes.
So that kind of speaks to the confidence that I have, and one of those leagues was a dynasty league. So I'm in on DJ Moore for the long haul. I know most of you are probably here for redraft. I think he has a great rest of season. There's no reason that he shouldn't. He is number 1 in the league for route participation, 100% route participation. His target share is 25.5%. 9th in targets at 26. Air yards, number 5. Air yards share, number 3 in the league. And number 7 in deep targets. Like, everything speaks to DJ Moore's getting volume. DJ Moore's on the field. DJ Moore's involved. It just hasn't been the big game yet until what Landon said. They've been going elsewhere because of the matchup. They've been using Robbie Anderson. They've been using Mike Davis. And DJ Moore hasn't had the chance to pop yet. But everything you look on paper, routes run, route participation, targets, target share, air yards, he's like top 10 in all of those metrics. And that's what you want for a fantasy wide receiver. So I actually think it's a really good time to buy low, super low on DJ Moore, because a small sample size of 3 games, people are down on him. I mean, I got DJ Moore at an incredible value in a dynasty league this week. And I think you guys should go out and get him if you don't have him, and start him with full confidence if you do, because I'm still very, very high on DJ Moore.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming by. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We're here grinding every single Sunday, 2 hours before kickoff, answering every single question. And we have a question from Shelby Norton. Thanks for coming in,
Shelby. What's up?
I haven't seen you come in yet, so if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Half point PPR flex spot. I love when they tell you the roster settings,
so nice.
The league settings.
Shelby, you asked a perfect question here.
Mark Ingram or Cordero Patterson. Mark Ingram, again, super disappointing on where you drafted him. And Cordero Patterson is supposed to get more work because of Tariq Cohen being out. But Mac, who are you starting?
Mark Ingram, no doubt about it. Cordero Patterson is a gadget player. He's kind of used all over the field. but it's going to be the David Montgomery show. Go with the team that runs the ball the most in the league, other than any other team, by a wide margin. Like, we're talking 100 total attempts last year over the San Francisco 49ers, who also run it a ton. Very productive on the ground. That's what they want to do. They should be able to do it against Washington. I think Mark Ingram gets into the end zone once or twice, and that's the play.
Yep, I agree completely. This is a bounce-back game for everyone on the Baltimore Ravens.
Has to be. So, yeah, Shelby, thank you for the question. We appreciate you coming by. Subscribe if you like what you see in front of you, and hopefully we see you again. Sam, Scotty Miller, Greg Ward, or Andy Isabella in a deep, slim pickings league. Landon's going home alone face on that one. Dude, I like Scotty Miller this week. I do.
Oh man, I've never been on the Scotty Miller train yet, but is this the time to get on?
So Chris Godwin's out and Justin Watson is inactive, I believe. So
yeah,
it has to be Scotty Miller, OJ Howard, Gronk, or Mike Evans. Like, they're just running out of options here. I bet you they're missing Brashad Perriman, trading him away. But yeah, I think out of that group, it's going to be close. Like, Scotty Miller is probably the play for me here.
I would go, for the record,
Isabella's a question
Andy
too.
Isabella. Andy Isabella.
Yeah. I would have said more so Andy Isabella had Hopkins not played. But we've seen Andy Isabella now for a couple weeks get into the end zone and starting to be utilized a little bit more. It's going to be close. It's between Miller and Isabella. I've said earlier in this stream that I don't have a lot of confidence in Carson Wentz right now to deliver a ball to anybody other than Miles Sanders or a tight end. So I'm going to be out on Greg Ward, and my vote would be Scotty Miller. Landon says Isabella. I think between the two, you're splitting hairs.
Yeah. Xander, it looks like Xander's used to asking questions from Mike Wright, posting about 12 on there.
Yeah, our stream doesn't move a mile a minute, so you're safe.
What up, Xander? Thanks for coming by. We're just joking, man. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, because we will get your question. We will answer it probably 5 times if you really want us to. We got you, man. So he's got Mixon, David Johnson, Ronald Jones. He's got to pick 2. And obviously Ronald Jones is set up for a really good game script. David Johnson against Minnesota, that is spicy as well. If anyone's going to have a good, a bounce back performance, David Johnson very well could. And then we got the Mixon, the guy, we all love the talent. We just don't like the usage. We don't like him getting pulled out on 3rd down.
Right.
This is a tough.
And I think we're getting some Ronald Jones questions because Leonard Fournette is inactive. He's out this week.
Yeah. So for good reason.
Yeah. It's Mixon and DJ for me, though. I'm not pivoting off of those for Ronald Jones. I think that's the way you go.
Yeah, and I've never been a Ronald Jones fan, Xander. So this is maybe biased for us. I like so for the record, David Johnson is also one of the highest owned players on DraftKings. People love David Johnson, so sometimes that's good chalk. Like, we're not playing DraftKings here in your lineup, so that's where you just play the best player available. Ronald Jones is a fringe running back, back in running back 2 for us this week, and the Chargers defense is no joke.
No.
We haven't seen Ronald Jones. He's been splitting work with Fournette. Could Ronald Jones have a big game? Absolutely, but I prefer Mixon and David Johnson. Both have good matchups. So, it's tough, man. I don't know if you can make a really bad decision. I think they're going to all finish pretty close in the end, or they have at least the potential to. So, thanks for the question.
Johnny Maz, welcome back. Pick 3.5 PPR, Kenny Golladay, DK, DeAndre Hopkins, or Calvin Ridley. Man, that's what a team. So who are you sitting from this group, Lando? I think I would just sit Ridley down with the Monday night game and the potential inactive. Golladay, DK, Hopkins. It's a great trio.
Yeah, that's the only question is Ridley has an ankle injury and a little banged up. You could see some of the workload kind of he could disappear a little bit. Could be I mean Julio's banged up too. It's going to be gross. I'm playing Green Bay defense in a couple spots. So play the you can't sit DK, you can't sit D Hop. The only reason to sit Ridley is his injury.
And I think
he's gonna have
I
a
think it's the
massive
Monday night game that really kind of factors in because.
Yeah.
So yeah, go Galladay, DK, D Hop. I don't want to sit the number one wide receiver in fantasy, but given this star-studded trio that we have to pivot off of, sit Ridley down.
Yeah. If you're starting a flex running back, I might maybe sit the flex running back and
Correct.
go Ridley, but that's what I'm doing.
Taylor says start 2, Boyd, Lamb, Chark, and MVS. For me, it is Tyler Boyd and CD Lamb.
Yeah, that's probably right. I would consider Chark in there too, but that's a good lineup.
Pick
sure.
2, Mclaren, Boyd, or Robbie Anderson.
Oh, Robbie's been on fire a little bit. They've got a good matchup, but I'm still going McLaurin and Boyd with that one.
I am as well. I don't know what it is, man. It talked me into this. Like, what about Robbie Anderson? How do I have confidence starting Robbie Anderson? It just doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies.
He still has that New York Jets kind of stank about him. We heard that in our Dynasty League this week, and he's not wrong.
No.
Robbie, if he was anyone else right now, we would be hyped up about him. And I think the fact that he has DJ Moore on the other side of the field, and we all love DJ Moore and his talent, I think Robbie could be a real deal this year, and he might be an auto start going forward. But right now, we still like McLaurin and Boyd. Even McLaurin in a tough matchup. We're getting lots of McLaurin ones. What I'm saying to Michael, I've seen his name. I know he's a subscriber. McLaurin, don't watch that game. Don't watch that Ravens game. It's going to be gross. You're not going to like it. By the end of the game, you'll see McLaurin finish with 75 yards and a touchdown, but it's going to be nasty. It's going to be gross. So that's kind of what I would say. I think Robbie going forward could be a good start, but Burrow's a real deal, and he loves Tyler Boyd.
Hey, guys, you said you were going to be discussing this, but Gallup, Lamb, or Justin Jefferson today in a full PPR. Woo.
Thanks, Tyler, for coming by. I think you came by
Amazing.
off Sleeper. We appreciate you coming. We're not spam bots. We're here to discuss your players, answer every single question, and we're here to try to reach our 400 subscriber goal. We're small guys, but we are trying our very best. So thanks, Tyler. Like and subscribe. And Mac, let's go through this and discuss these guys: Gallup, Lamb, and Jefferson. Full PPR.
Gallup, Lamb, Jefferson. It's going to be tough for people not to chase the big game from Justin Jefferson, but I think that's the mistake to make. So for me, Justin Jefferson is out. It's really a course of, is it Gallup or is it Lamb? And you're picking between two Dallas guys. So where do you lean there, Lando?
Yeah, it's tough to start. You don't want to start two guys from the same team, but I would start. There's so much volume so far in Dallas that you totally can. And Lamb was our number one prospect, wide receiver coming out. Go two guys. I love the talented Gallup as well.
No, it's
Gallup
only
and Lamb.
one. It's only
Stay
one.
in the.
Correct.
You can only start one. Okay, sorry. My play is Gallup.
They're so close in the rankings. I want to say CD Lamb, but I'll go with you on Gallup.
Okay.
It's really going to be who gets in the end zone between those two. But if I had to order them, for me, it would personally be Lamb, Gallup, Jefferson. Daniel,
Cool.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. Full PPR, Chris Carson, Jerick McKinnon, Rojo, or Lamb at the flex. For me, it's Chris Carson. Clear to play. Carlos Hyde is out. I'm going Chris Carson.
We're lucky, and the NFL's lucky that injury for Carson wasn't worse. It looked like the player intentionally hurt his knee. It was a super scummy move. So it's nice that Carson did not get injured, and we're rocking and rolling with Chris Carson again this week in a good matchup.
Yeah.
Anto.
Yeah. Julio or T. Higgins this week. Julio Jones might not play. So if T. Higgins is your only other option, that's where you got to roll.
Man, that's tough. I would rather have keep Julio in the lineup and pick up like a Russell Gage on your bench,
or a Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or
something like that. Because if Julio plays, which I do expect him to, I want to start him. But if he's a last-minute inactive, you want to be able to at least go in that same game. You don't want to start T. Higgins and then Julio plays and then you have a bad week from T potentially. He's still a rookie, even though he had a big game. We're getting lots of Bengals questions. I don't have utmost confidence in every single Bengal to have a big game.
Mm-hmm. Chad, good morning, full PPR. Drew Brees or Ryan Fitzmagic? I mean, the scoring format doesn't really change the answer for a quarterback, but Drew Brees still for me.
I mean, yeah, it's probably Brees, but I do expect Fitzpatrick to have a big game.
How hard is it, though, if you just have to throw the ball 5 yards and watch Alvin Kamara dip and dunk in all his ways to the end zone?
I know.
He's so special, man. And without Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara's the workload is just insane. So
yeah,
it's a slight lean on Drew Brees. Like, I know I'm not thrilled with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go Drew Brees.
Just to make things more complicated, I'm going Fitzmagic.
Come on, Landon. You're supposed to be an analyst.
Hey man, it's going to be a shootout.
So what makes you think you want to lean Fitzmagic over Drew Brees?
So without Michael Thomas being there, I do think that limits Drew Brees' upside.
I don't.
It could just be a running like Detroit. I don't know. Maybe Detroit can't even keep up with New Orleans. It's possible. Like we are projecting Golladay to have a good fantasy game, but we're not projecting every player to have a good fantasy game for Detroit. But Seattle's defense, it hasn't been good. They've lost Jamal Adams, Fitzpatrick. Whether it's a good game script, bad game script, he's a gunslinger. This guy's just a baller, and I think it's going to be fun to watch Fitzpatrick kind of light it up. But I think it's close. It's close. If you go Drew Brees because he's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in NFL history, and he's still in Traquan Smith. Hey, I don't blame you. He could easily score 3 touchdowns to and then maybe that's Fitzpatrick's ceiling, where Drew Brees maybe has a safer floor option. So that's
certainly
maybe that's
Ryan Fitzpatrick's not afraid to run and take a hit. He's not afraid to call his own number at the goal line and run it in. But with that play style comes fumbling, comes injury, comes interceptions, right? Like Ryan Fitzpatrick is a turnover machine. And throwing it down the field, you can get the big boom play, but you can also get the -2, -3 points for the interception or the fumble. For me, it's Drew Brees. It's an efficient play. They're really close in the rankings. But when you have a guy like Alvin Kamara in the backfield that is so special, and all you have to do is dump it to him in the flat and let him work, it's an easy day for Drew Brees. He doesn't have to be special because Alvin Kamara is. So I'm going Drew Brees. I don't want the volatility and the headache of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Chad, great question. I love that it brings up debate. If you haven't already, give us a subscribe. We have 17 likes, and we love you guys for that. We're here every single week. And Tyler, man, that kind of work is worth every single second to earn a subscription from you guys. We're trying to get that 400 subscriber mark. It's not a lot, but it's a lot to us.
100%. Yeah, we appreciate it. Lord Next is back. I need a little late replacement for Newton. My options are Fitzpatrick, Goff, Brady. It's Goff for me. The Rams should be beaten up this week, laying the beat down.
Go with Goff. The only thing I will say is that sometimes a complete domination from the Rams isn't always the best for fantasy. but I do think Goff. I mean, he should be set to dominate and have a good game.
100%. Would you guys go Goff or Matt Ryan this week? Sorry for the second question.
No,
Tyler,
don't be sorry.
Ask 2, ask 3, ask 5, ask 10. It doesn't matter, man. We're here for you.
Get us on.
We're here for you.
Get us on Instagram and Twitter. You can even send us a screenshot of your lineup of your waiver wires. We do a really great waiver show every Tuesday morning. We had our waiver show blew up. We have over 1,000 views on that, and we're just trying to kill and help you guys set the best lineup you can.
So Goff or Matt Ryan, Landon, where do you lean here?
So I guess maybe going back to my point where it should be more of a competitive game for Matt Ryan. So maybe I go Matt Ryan over Goff.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to lean Jared Goff. I am, full disclosure, if you're new to the show, I'm a big Jared Goff fan for fantasy. I have him in a lot of leagues, stacked with Tyler Higbee, and so far I've been really, really pleased. The New York Giants have been just a dumpster fire this year, and the Green Bay defense, in my opinion, is underrated. That secondary. Without Julio Jones and potentially Calvin Ridley, the options for Matt Ryan are slim. So I'm going to go Jared Goff with a fully loaded Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Cooper Kupp, slew of weapons to work with. I'm going Goff for the upside.
Sounds good. Tyler, I think I recognize Tyler as well. He's a subscriber. Thanks for coming back, man. So this is a really tough question because of that questionable New England game and the new quarterback in New England as well. It's probably going to be Hoyer.
You think they're going Hoyer over Stidham?
That was the report for me and Rappaport. I like Stidham better. People love Stidham better than Hoyer because we know who Hoyer is.
Well, pre-Cam Newton, they were going Stidham.
I know.
Doesn't make sense to me why they would go Hoyer. But, yeah, regardless, I think there's a lot of question marks there with that game. The quarterback, and obviously the quarterback who's coming in, Hoyer or Stidham, are going to want to use the safer, more intermediate options, and that's Julian Edelman. I don't want to take a chance that the game gets canceled, and I don't think that Marvin Jones is a discount on Julian Edelman at all. So it's going to be Marvin.
Not a massive one.
No, it's going to be Marvin Jones for me.
Yeah, go Marvin Jones, Tyler, with confidence. There's too many question marks for Edelman. He might be the safety blanket. He could get 12 targets. Well, we've seen that before from him. But because of the question mark of the game, of the quarterback, Marvin Jones, I really did like him early throughout the offseason. Even with Kenny Golladay, he still has big games. Mm-hmm. So I'm not scared off of Marvin Jones. He's a good, really buy low candidate. No one wants Marvin Jones right now, but I like him and I have him in a lot of spots.
Yeah, for sure. And Anthony comes in and says, I took Kenyon Drake and Julio Jones as my first 2 picks this year. Is it too early to make a blockbuster deal? No. If Kenyon Drake has a boom game this week, it's a perfect time to sell. And one thing I'll just kind of note is that when we play fantasy football, we need to leave the draft when it happened in September or August. We are now into the first week of October, and things have drastically changed. And we have to lose sight of the fact that we spent $70 auction dollars on a player, or we took somebody in the first round and they're worth a first round pick. Where you draft somebody doesn't matter. You could draft Tom Brady in the first round if you think he's worth it, right? I would advise against that, but the way that you value players is different from the way that we value players in season. And when context changes and when workloads change, you have to stay water, you have to pivot and be willing to trade. And I think trading Kenyon Drake after potentially a huge game here is a great move for you.
Yeah, I was going to say with context, I am expecting Drake to have a massive game. What we don't like to do is trade low on players, and right now you'd be trading Julio low and trading Kenyon Drake low. Even though Julio's arguably he's a top 3, top 4 wide receiver in the league, he's been banged up, hasn't gotten in the end zone. Like, he's just that's not what you want to do. But you're right, it's never too early to make a blockbuster trade. You just need to get fair value back, Anthony. So that's kind of let us know. You can send us trade questions to our Instagram or Twitter, and we'll get you back and try to help you figure something out here.
Big shout out to Xander, Hood Media, and RP for subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate your support. And as you can see, we're trying to get up to 400 subs. So the likes, the comments, the subscriptions go a long way, and we look forward to doing this each and every Sunday. So become part of the community. Let's grow. Let's get some success together and win some fantasy championships. That is what it's all about.
Yeah. Brett, who just subscribed, has a great question. He's got Chark, Gallup, or Robbie Anderson. He's in a full PPR league.
Man.
Again, we're getting a lot of these questions, man.
And I understand people want to stay in the Flames with Robbie Anderson. I am not going to be going that direction. For me, it's going to be between Chark and Gallup. I know that we've said Gallup, but like the truth of the matter is, they're back to back in our rankings. DJ Chark coming back off the injury is the only reason I would lean Gallup here.
Yeah, that's the only concern. I do expect him to be healthy. I'm doing stacks in DFS where I'm going with like a Mixon, a Tyler Boyd with Burrow, and then running it back with DJ Chark, expecting a big game from him. You could do it the other way with Robinson, Chark, and then back with Mixon or Boyd. So I do think it's going to be hopefully a big game this week. The one thing I do like about these teams that they both played tough matchups. They've both been grinding and really having a tough time. So now that they get to play each other, they're gonna have a much easier time. Like their offense are gonna be like, wow, these receivers have separation. I'm not getting sacked, or I'm not getting under pressure after 2 seconds of snapping the ball. So I'm expecting both quarterbacks to do well this week. So yeah. I think I lean Chark by a hair.
I'm just fading a little bit because of the health, so I'll go Gallup there. But Brett, thank you for the sub, man. Really, really appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and we'll definitely see you again. Chad, you as well. Have a great weekend, bud. Good luck. Hopefully you guys win your matchup. Lord Next said, I'm here every Sunday from now on, bringing more friends on board. Thank you. No, thank you. We appreciate you, man. Chase, I'm starting Fitz over Goff. Is that crazy? Afraid Goff won't need to pass much against the Giants. That Jared Goff passes. That's what he does. That's what the Rams do. They run it through the air, as we like to say in the industry. You know, Daryl Henderson is not going to light the world on fire. The Rams are not a running team. They run it, well, they have over the years with Gurley run it efficiently. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff is a back-to-back 4,600-yard passer. That's what they do. I would go Goff over Fitz. I do think that is crazy.
I don't think it's crazy because there's a world where the Rams defense scores 2 touchdowns. Like they could get a couple pick sixes, and then it's hard to score fantasy points when the Rams aren't on the field. So I understand your logic.
In that same world, there's a chance that Ryan Fitzpatrick throws 3 picks.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
It's Jared Goff to me.
All right.
Yeah, are you gonna go Fitz?
Well, I'm not. I'm just saying he's not crazy. He's asking if he's crazy. I don't think he is crazy because I think it's a more like he said, it's a more competitive game. I do like Goff this week, and the matchup is great. I just need the Giants to be competitive to force Goff from throwing more in every single quarter. If it's a big blowout game, we'll see Malcolm Brown just grind it out, and it's just going to be a boring game in the second half. But that still means that Goff needs to throw touchdowns to get ahead. So those touchdowns could come in the first half. You can go 3 in the first half to Higbee and Kopp and Robert Woods. Like that's the best case scenario, right? But you want it to be a competitive game so that Goff throws another 2 in the second half. Have a massive game. Have that 4 touchdown game. You want that to keep happening.
Sure. But I just don't think it happens as much as you would want it to.
All right. Yeah, maybe not.
Singletary or Daryl Henderson this week?
I think that's really close. I think, let me just see where we have our rankings. Is it close to you, or do you like Singletary?
Man, Singletary just gave me last week. I just looked like he had the full opportunity without Zach Moss in the lineup on the goal line 3 times, and his number got called once. It was the Josh Allen show. They gave Singletary one crack at getting into the end zone. They didn't get it. They pivoted off. They threw it to Tyler Kroft. Next time down, Josh Allen calls his own number. They get it in. Next time they're down onto the goal line off the pass interference, they go play action, and they dip it off to, it wasn't Kroft. It was, who's their other tight end? Not Knox, but was it Davis? Either way.
Yeah, the name's escaping me right now.
They're not using Devin Singletary. I feel like they don't have confidence in him, and now, because of what I saw last week, I don't have full confidence. I think the Raiders are a decent defense, and Daryl Henderson would be the play for me.
Yep, go Henderson with confidence, Static. Thanks for the question. If you haven't already, subscribe. We appreciate the likes. We're at 18 likes so far. You guys are awesome. We'll answer every single question. Trevor Kane comes in. He's got Hurst and Austin Hooper full PPR. That's not too close to me. Hurst. I think it's Hayden Hurst.
Hayden Hurst, absolutely. Yep.
Great question.
Especially when you look to the game script potentially being bad for Atlanta. They might be without Julio and Calvin Ridley. Hayden Hurst should be heavily targeted in that game if that's the case. So I would go Hayden Hurst regardless. But there's definitely more things that lead to a good Hayden Hurst game.
Yeah.
Brad, Superflex question. In general, if you find yourself sitting with a QB in question or now out, are you guys looking to play a safer floor option or a higher ceiling option when playing against two other quarterbacks?
I think you do have to go upside there. There's no point in going with a safe floor. If you're playing a Superflex league, you got to try to get that 20, 25 point game. You got to go.
And you think though, like in a Superflex league where you can start a second quarterback, quarterbacks score the most fantasy points outside of Christian McCaffrey. They score the most fantasy points on average on a week per week basis, and needing to replace that void that you now have lost, you have to go with the upside play. So, like a Justin Jefferson, now that you've seen him have that 175, that he has that game in him, and he might be the consideration for you as a spot start or a flex play. But yeah, you need to go upside. Absolutely.
So Jamie was on our YouTube. What up, Jamie? Thanks for coming by. I told him we would answer this live on the show. Should I trade DJ Moore for Devontae Parker and Deontay Johnson? He's also got Mclaren or Anderson at the flex. So interesting, trading away DJ Moore, because we've been trading for DJ Moore, but he's getting a pretty decent return.
Another player I'm really, really excited for is Deontay Johnson. I love the way he's being used in this Pittsburgh offense. Reminds me of how they used Antonio Brown. As much as I love DJ Moore, I would do that deal. I would take Devontae Parker and Deontay Johnson for DJ Moore.
There we go, Jamie. Thanks. He commented on our sell high video about Robbie Anderson, and he's coming in. I commented live on here, being like, "Yo, man, we'll answer this live." So appreciate it, Jamie. Yep. You probably have already subscribed. If you haven't already, we appreciate it. Like the video, man. We're here grinding. We're here answering every single question.
His second question, Mclaren or Anderson in the flex, it's Mclaren for me, being declared to play 100% confidence.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I misread that one.
Have you guys answered questions about starting Debo versus Philly in a flex or PPR? I have Adams, Boyd, and Chark currently in at flex. I said that I would start Debo over Chark. Landon's probably not on the same page. It's close. I just think that with how the San Francisco 49ers use that zone running scheme and how we've seen Brandon Ayuk as a rookie player have success, like that is Debo's role. So I expect Debo to be full go this week. I am starting him.
I love it.
Easy. Is it possible you subscribe more than once? I wish that was the case, but no. But we appreciate you being here. each and every week. David Wilson says, why is the Pittsburgh-Tennessee game canceled? So long story short, there was a COVID outbreak, and now 18 Titans players and personnel members have been tested positive for COVID-19. So that's why there's a risk there, a health risk for the game, and it's been rescheduled for later in the year. So right now, the Tennessee and Pittsburgh Steelers players are going through a bye week, and you need to plan accordingly. So you got about a half hour to make some spot starts.
The Tennessee game next week is even in question because of how many players tested positive.
That Buffalo-Tennessee game is definitely in question.
So, Alberto, hey guys, which two would you start in a PPR league? He's got John Brown. I believe John Brown is out this game. Am I wrong?
Double check that. But yeah, John Brown, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, or Russell Gage. I mean, if John Brown is inactive, which that sort of rings a bell, we'd have to double check. But MVS, if Devontae Adams doesn't play, is the number one wide receiver for Green Bay. So keep that in mind. I don't think he'll be used to the tune of Devontae Adams, but he should be targeted with Allen Lazard having surgery and now missing time. And expect Aaron Rodgers to use a slew of tight end options with Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tonyan, and Jay Sternberger, because that's really all the support they have after a really poor draft.
Yeah, so even though John Brown exited last game with a calf, he did practice in full on Friday, doesn't have a designation, so he is good to go. So then I would play John Brown this week if he does play against Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah. So great question, David. We appreciate coming by, and he's a subscriber already. We know David. Thanks.
Yeah,
for coming,
David. Good to see you again,
man.
My man. So Bob just sent me a question. I'm sorry if I skipped over a couple here. We'll get back to them, but he has a fantastic team. But he wants to know, would we start Deebo Samuel over Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson, or Mike Davis? Those are all his wide receivers or flex plays.
No, I wouldn't. I would keep that lineup together.
And that's exactly what I said. I said I'd leave that lineup as is. Mike Davis is a good spot start, especially against Arizona. Allen Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, all solid options over Debo. And I mean, with starting Debo, you are inheriting some risk. So with the other four options, there's no risk there.
Yeah, so sorry, I need to follow back with Alberto there. So NBS or Gage, who do you prefer?
Gage.
I think I prefer Gage. Yeah, Gage over MBS.
I would too. Yep.
Call me Bill 13, Marvin Jones or MBS. I go Marvin Jones. We have Noah coming in. Yo, what up, Noah? Thanks for coming by, man. I haven't seen your name yet, so we will get to your question. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're grinding here every single week. We'll be here next Sunday, 2 hours before kickoff, and it's already 12:30, man. We're getting into it.
Noah, start DJ Moore.
Yeah, start DJ Moore, and then a backup. So DJ Moore, Gallup, Jefferson, Gage is how I would rank those guys.
And Easy says he doesn't think the game is canceled. The better word is rescheduled, but it's canceled for this week. So they have a bye week, and it'll be played at a later date.
Correct.
Michael, pick 2, Keenan Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Robert Woods. For me, that's JT Robert Woods.
Yep, I think that's a pretty safe play.
JT is going to be
defense.
A baller this week.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I think Robert Woods is a great play. I'm playing him in a lot of DFS lineups. Henderson or Mixon, half-point PPR league. Glue. Sniffer, what is up, my man? Thanks for coming by.
You're not going to like this answer, Landon.
You want Henderson? Okay, go Henderson over Mixon. That is a spicy play. Spicy.
Yeah.
AF24. Should I play safeguard this week and play Thielen over Julio
Yep.
Jones? I would.
I don't want to take the risk that Julio doesn't play and then you're left with 0.
Yeah. Thanks AF24 for the question. Man, we're at 20 likes. Thanks a lot. If you haven't already liked the video, we got you every week. We're trying to reach that 400 subscriber mark. Bobby, I'm just going to ignore everything Bobby says. Brees or Goff and Higbee or Hurst.
Wait, what?
From Tommy, I've seen Bobby, or I've seen Tommy come in.
Oh, sorry, the one over. Brees or Goff and Higbee or Hurst. Man, Goff and Higbee. Just stack them up.
Goff and Higbee.
We did a really cool research project over the summer where we looked at stacking. And is it, we know for DFS that it's advantageous to create a unique lineup through stacking quarterbacks and their receiving options together. But what we found is if you intentionally try to stack those quarterbacks with their wide receiver ones, more so you actually diminish your floor instead of increasing that ceiling. But where you really pick up a true advantage on a week-to-week basis is stacking with the tight end position. So Goff, Higbee would be my answer there. D. Hurtlocker, back, familiar name. I recognize that one. What's up, my man? Lost Cam Newton this week. That's a tough go. Picked up Minshew and Foles, which are really good waiver options. Between Foles and Minshew, who would you go with, Lando? Minshew magic. Put him in. Let him work. Mason, welcome to the stream. OBJ, Landry, Slayton, John Brown, Jeff Wilson, and Mark Ingram. I need 2 wide receivers and a flex. Ooh.
OBJ.
Can you start OBJ and Landry?
I don't want to. I don't want to start Landry at all. OBJ and John Brown.
So is John Brown in or out?
John Brown's
He's in.
John Brown's in. No, yeah.
I would be starting OBJ and Landry. I would put them together.
And then are you going Ingram or Jeff Wilson?
Mark
in the
Ingram.
Flex? Mark Ingram. So, all right. I would go OBJ, John Brown, Ingram. Mac would go OBJ, Landry, Ingram. Correct. So,
David said, I just got an alert that the Pats will play KC in a Monday night football doubleheader. And
we
look,
talked about that.
We have to take this news with a grain of salt because if more tests come out where players are testing positive before that game, there's a good chance that it could get canceled because that's exactly what happened with the Tennessee Pittsburgh game. So as of right now, take that into consideration, but it might not happen. So there's always that risk that the game could be canceled.
And so that's why we're saying in leagues, if you have an active commissioner, to set a backup play for that week, keep your starters in there, your Patriots and your Chiefs in there, and then have a backup on your bench and tell the commissioner. And if the game gets canceled for some reason, you have a backup play. I'm expecting the game to play. We've had negative tests come through, but again, anything can happen. It's very fluid. We really don't know much.
Chiefs or Seahawks defense, go Seahawks in case the Chiefs game doesn't happen.
I would go Chiefs DST.
But do you think that's worth the risk of it not happening?
Yeah, because I think Seahawks D could get a 0 anyways.
From the Dolphins.
I think Chiefs. Yeah, I think Chiefs D is a much better play with Hoyer or Stidham in there. Again, if you have a backup, if you have both on your team, try to get that backup plan going. But I mean, Chiefs. I mean, I love the Chiefs D this week against the.
I'm going Seahawks because Ryan Fitzpatrick turns the ball over consistently. I think that the Dolphins potentially don't score a lot of points, and Seahawks, they play this week. We know that the Chiefs are in question of not having a game, and so I'm going to go Seahawks for all those reasons.
Cool.
Might have already answered this, but Kenny G and Thielen is a wide receiver 2 duo. Do you like Kenyon Drake, David Johnson, or Myles Gaskin at my flex? I think I speak for both of us when I say Kenyon Drake. Don't doubt your wide receivers.
Yeah, love that. Great question, Logan. Thanks for coming by. Like the video if you haven't. Subscribe on YouTube. But yeah, totally, man. Stick with your guy. You knew the answer before you came in here, man. Kenny G, Thielen, and Kenyon Drake. Start with confidence. You got
I agree.
this. You're gonna win this week, man.
John, what's up, boys? Flex start Mclaren or Hollywood? So funny enough, we had this question about an hour ago, and before Mclaren had been declared 100% in, we went Hollywood. But now with McLaurin starting, I'm gonna lead McLaurin.
Yeah, sure. Go McLaurin. I like it.
Renfro or Gallup in a full PPR?
Go
Gallup.
Michael Gallup.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, man. Thanks.
Absolutely.
And subscribe if you haven't already. We are all up to date. I've got a question on Instagram coming through.
Hit me.
We got Goff or Minshew, and then James Robinson or Jonathan Taylor, and then he's got Derek Carr.
Okay.
Goff.
Right.
Goff or Minshew. Goff. Robinson or Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Teddy or Mullins.
Sorry, say that again.
Carr, Cousins, Teddy or Mullins.
Goff.
No, sorry, Goff isn't an option on that one. Goff, Taylor, and then Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, or Nick Mullins. Do you go Derek Carr?
I think you have to.
Oh, there we go. Carr. Sweet. Wicked. This is all right. Sam coming in. He's got MVS, Ward, Jefferson, or Gage for our flex PPR. I think we like Justin Jefferson out of that crew, don't we, Mac? Or Russell Gage.
Russell
would be
Gage
the
is
other
the other
option.
consideration, but because of the Monday night game and we don't know if Julio and Ridley are going to be in or not, that's a lot of moving parts. So I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson.
For sure. I mean, if we knew for sure that Julio was out, that would make it a lot closer. Gage was a big play for me last week, but he went out early with a concussion, but he was getting targets. It's just, it sucks that a concussion like that would happen. And there is still that possibility that he goes out again. Like, concussions are a fluid injury. You're not really sure. He is expected to play, but if he gets a hard hit again, I mean, concussions happen are more commonly happen if you've already had one. So go with Justin Jefferson with that boom play. Not every wide receiver, and especially from that list, can have games like Justin Jefferson just did. So go with Jefferson for the upside play.
Absolutely. I'm just doing one last check here for any more news coming through before we sign off. Landon and I reserve about 15 minutes here to do our own lineups. Newsfeed looks pretty clear. So again, if you have Titans and Steelers, make sure that they are out of your lineup because they don't have a game this week. If you have Chiefs or Patriots, be cautious. If your league doesn't have any protocols in place to allow you to play a backup player, you need to probably make other options because of as of right now, the game is planned to be played as a Monday night doubleheader. But if more Chiefs or Patriots test positive, this game might not happen. So make other arrangements. Try to be crafty. Pick up some Green Bay, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Russell Gages, and try to give yourself options for Monday night should your Chiefs or Patriots not play. So that would be my advice to you.
Yep. Good luck, everyone, in this week's matchups. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. And we got 23 likes. We're killing it. We love you guys. And we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Good luck, and we'll see you later.
Later.